Welcome! I'm trying a couple of new recipes and I thought I'd share them with you. I've been wanting to make some kind of Mexican shredded beef and I did a Google search and this is the recipe that I decided to go with because I had everything and I'm not using the liquid smoke. So we're going to give this a try. I have a 3-pound roast. I bought these on sale and I just wanted to try something different and I thought this would be a really great freezer meal, maybe in the future too. So I'm just seasoning it with salt and pepper, and then I have my enamel covered cast iron Dutch oven, so I'm just going to put that in there. And I am going to do this in the oven. Now the recipe tells you how to do it in the crock pot. You can do it in the Instant Pot. But there was a break in the weather. We've had a really bad heat wave and I just thought today would be the perfect day. I like to do it in the oven. I just find I can kind of control it a little bit more. I find sometimes with my crock pots are just really hot and everything gets kind of like overcooked. So I am using a can of Rotel because I didn't have a 15-ounce can of diced tomatoes. And it also said to use 1 cup of water. I'm just using in between a half and 3/4 of a cup. I think if you use beef broth, it would be really good. I'm not using the liquid smoke, and a little bit of garlic, and I'm using a teaspoon of ground cumin and a teaspoon of chipotle powder. So I just mix that all up. So I'm just going to turn my beef over, and the second side definitely got a lot browner than the first side, but I like to do it in the oven. I just find like slow and steady, so that has a really nice sear to it. And then whenever I pour the tomatoes and the water and everything over, it's just going to bring everything up from the bottom. So I'm just doing what the recipe said. My oven is preheated to 300 degrees, and then it's just going to sit in there for about three hours. I think I did it. And I'm just going to put that in there. I have a bunch of stuff that I'm going to do, and I don't really need to worry about dinner. We're just going to keep it really, really easy. So after 3 hours, I turned the oven off because I had to go out, and then I just let it sit in the oven. And that's one of the things I love about the cast iron. So it's a little bit brown on top, but it wasn't overcooked or anything. It was really good. I'm just using 2 forks to break it up. It shredded really nice. And that was one of the things that I was a little bit concerned about. Is sometimes it can a little bit more liquid, but this was a nice lean roast, so there wasn't a lot of fat or anything in it, and I didn't want it to be too watery. But the one thing I would have done differently is I think I would have added a couple of tablespoons of tomato paste into it. I think it would have given it just a rich flavor. Now, I did a Google search and there was a whole bunch of recipes where you add hot sauce, chipotle peppers, like with this really like hot spicy sauce, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to keep it pretty simple. I think some onions would have been really nice in here too, but it's the first time that I made it and I wanted to kind of stick to the recipe, and I didn't want it to be too spicy because I know that our son wouldn't like it, but we were just kind of doing tacos at home. So I got these like 50-50 corn and whole wheat tortillas, some shredded lettuce, and then I got this queso fresco cheese. It's not what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was more of a crumbly cheese, but this one was definitely firm. Some salsa. I have this cilantro lime crema. I'm going to have to get some more. It's almost done. And I even have a little bit of fresh cilantro. So we are just going to go ahead and get these all plated up. I did put the tortillas in the oven just to warm them up, and then a little bit of shredded lettuce on the bottom, and then just a little bit of the meat and all the toppings. And I really wanted to make this because we used to have this really amazing, like a little Mexican restaurant that they did everything from scratch. The tortilla chips, the salsa, they made everything and it was so good. And they used to have these braised beef tacos, and it just hasn't been the same without them. And that's one of the things I will say is I find like when you have like this little restaurant that's not a chain restaurant, you always get better quality food. So here's the tacos. These were really, really good. I would have, like I said, I think a tomato paste would have added a little bit more of like that rich flavor to them, but these were really good, especially with all the extra toppings. And then the next ones, I just put the salsa on top of the crema just because I wanted to see the tomatoes, but you could use fresh tomatoes, you could use whatever you want, and these were delicious. And this is the leftovers. So these 2 containers, I'm going to put these in a freezer. So this would be a really quick, easy dinner. I wasn't sure about too much because I really did feel the 2 tacos was enough because we had some dessert too. And then I'm just going to keep this out. And I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I was thinking about maybe making like salad or quesadillas or something. So I'm just playing around with it a little bit. I was very, very happy with it, and I definitely think I could come up with something on my own, but I think the tomato sauce and I think the beef broth would have been really good. So I am taking a green pepper and just a small onion, and I'm chopping these up because I'm going to take that meat and I'm going to make something for lunch. I just got an idea for this because I had got like some tortilla boats, and they were a little bit bigger than what I wanted, and I just thought this would be really good and it would be enough for us for lunch, and then also hopefully have some leftovers too. So I'm just dicing these up. It's all that I had. I didn't have a lot of produce in my fridge, so I was just kind of working with what I had, but I definitely would have added even some tomatoes and onions to the meat. I think it would have added a lot more flavor too, but I was very happy with it. I think I was just kind of experimenting with it, and I just have a little bit of avocado oil, so I'm just going to saute these peppers and onions in here. I just sauteed these for a couple of minutes, and then I took the beef and then I just cut it up with the scissors and I just added that in here. And this is the kind of cooking that I love, is I just take whatever I have and just kind of get creative, come up with a couple of ideas. And I knew that the meat was flavored, and then the tortilla boats, there was a package of taco seasoning, so I just put that up in my pantry, but there was also some taco sauce. So I just decided to add this in, and I thought it would just give it a little bit more flavor and a little bit more richness, and that was exactly what I think I should have done with the roast at that time, or even stirred that up at the end, because it was really good, but I found there was just something missing from the recipe. And that's one of the things, is I wanted to keep it pretty simple because I didn't want it to be too rich. I didn't want to have to go out and buy all these things that I didn't have. So after a couple of minutes, just letting it kind of heat up the meat, I'm just taking the rest of that cheese and mixing it in. I had a big blob there. I thought I shredded it all. And then I'm just going to turn the heat off and let this sit, because I thought this would be a lot easier, is to mix the cheese in, because I find sometimes whenever you do these things, it's falling all over the place, and especially for our son, it's just easier when it kind of sticks together. So I have 8 of these tortilla ones. These were a little bit bigger than what I wanted. I'm just going to go ahead and fill them up. I don't want to overfill them, but I really thought that I was going to be able to get all 8 of them filled up, but it turns out I was only able to get 6 of them filled up, and these were so good. I did this a little bit ahead of time, just so I was working in the kitchen, and I just thought I'd go ahead and do this. But I just took the 6 of them, and then I just heated them up in the air fryer, and they kind of just heated up. The tortillas crisped up a little bit, and then we just put a little bit of salsa and sour cream on top and just had some fruit and veggies with it, and they were so good. So I have 3 of these left over, so I'm just going to put them in the container, and these are going to be great for leftovers. Once again, I think these would make a really great freezer meal too. So Mexican beef, I really, really liked it, and I'm going to try it again. And then I was looking for Hawaiian fried rice, because I have these pineapple chicken sausages that I like, and instead of using diced ham, I'm going to use the chicken sausages. It was a very rainy, dreary day, and I don't know, I was kind of craving this. So I just have the equivalent to what it said of coconut milk and then water. I think it's 2.5 cups, so I just have that ready to come to a boil. And I'm using fresh pineapple. I didn't have any cans, so I went to get it, and I just decided to go with the fresh. I thought it would make a really big difference. And I'm very happy that I did. So I'm just getting this all cleaned up, waiting for the liquid to come to a boil, and then I'm just using 1 1/3 cup of jasmine rice. I really like the jasmine rice, but any kind of long grain rice that you have, and then also a little bit of salt in with the milk too. I was thinking about using chicken broth, but I didn't. I only needed about 1/2 cup to get it up to the 2.5 cups of liquid. So I just stirred the rice in. I'm going to put the heat down to low, put the lid on, set the timer for 15 minutes, and then we'll get back to all the chopping. So I'm just going to go ahead and take the pineapple and dice it up. I really did think that this would make a huge difference. And then at first, whenever I saw it, I was really thinking about using canned pineapple and then adding the juice in with the coconut milk, but I'm glad that I didn't, because it would have been way too sweet. But the coconut milk, I don't know, it just gives it a little bit of extra fat and flavor to it. And I'm pretty much sticking to the recipe. It said 1/3 cup of green onions, a light portion. I just had 1 package of it, so I'm just cutting these up. And then I only had 1 red pepper. That's all I had, because I used the green one for the other tacos, and I definitely would add more vegetables to this. Like a red and a yellow pepper would have been really nice too. I really feel like it could have used that just because I like to have a lot of extra vegetables. Even mushrooms would have been good, or if you had frozen mixed vegetables too. Like, it's really about using what you have, but I always love using the red. I just find it gives it a really nice pop of color. So I'm going to get these all diced up, and then I'm also going to do the greens of the peppers, and I usually use that for a little bit of, you know, making it look a little bit pretty for the presentation. So I'm just getting everything chopped up and trying to get everything done after the 15 minutes with the rice. I know seeing me cut up these chicken pineapple sausages isn't the nicest thing, but I really have enjoyed having some of these little staples in my freezer, and I just thought these would be really great. I've been wanting to try a lot of different recipes just using like pineapple, especially in the summertime. And since it did call for 2 cups of diced ham, I thought this would work out perfectly. These would have been nice, like grilled on the barbecue, but they're already fully cooked. So I'm just going to go ahead and dice them up, and I had everything timed out perfectly. So in my enamel covered cast iron skillet here, I just have a little bit of sesame oil and olive oil, just adding in the peppers and green onions, and the rice is all done. So I just moved it off the heat and it's waiting there. So I'm going to add in a little bit of ginger and garlic. That is what the recipe called for. I like to have these in the jar. I just find it's one of those things I don't use all the time, and it's just really convenient to have them in here because it really does just give it a little bit of extra flavor. But of course you could always use fresh if you wanted, or even a little bit of the powdered. If that's all that you had, I think it would still work. So I'm adding in the pineapple right now, and then I'm going to go ahead and add in the chicken sausage too, because I do want to cook it up a little bit just to make sure that it's heated all the way through. But like, you could do so many different things with this recipe, and I do have like a fried rice recipe that I use, but it's done in the oven. But I've never really made anything like this before, and I really like to do kind of like all in one kind of dish. And I don't know, there was something that was really wanting me to make this. So the recipe did say to cook the eggs in the pan, but I just wanted to keep it a little bit separate just because there was a lot in the pan, and I'm not the greatest at using the cast iron, so I just thought it would be easier to do it on the side. So I just had 3 eggs that I whisked up with a fork, and then I added a little bit of pepper. So everything is looking pretty good. This is when I was getting a little bit scared, is like, was there enough rice? Was it too much rice? And I definitely knew that the pineapple was going to kind of be the star. And then it also said to add a little bit of soy sauce. You could use fresh cilantro too if you wanted. And then I'm just going to go ahead and put the eggs in here and then just kind of mix it all up together. But I was very happy with how easy this was coming together. And, you know, I did use the recipe for inspiration, but this is something I could definitely recreate. I think this meal is something that would be amazing to, you know, clean out the fridge if you just have one of those nights where you don't really know what to make. I really didn't know what to think about this. It said 5 servings for it. So I'm just really making sure that I break all the rice and just kind of break the eggs up into a little bit of smaller pieces. And I decided to add a little bit more pepper, but I knew the coconut milk and then also the sausage has a lot of smoky flavor to it. And then the fresh pineapple, and we just put it in a bowl and I put a little bit of the green onions on top. This was so good. I really felt the sausage like really just enhance the flavor, a little bit of the smokiness from it. I really, really did like it. Even my husband liked it. So anyways, the great thing about this was my plan was to make lunches. So that's exactly what I did. So there's a couple of lunches for me, a couple of lunches for my husband. I'm sure this would freeze really great too, to have as a side. I have frozen rice before, but I do find it gets a little bit mushy. So that's one of the things, is maybe cooking it under a little bit if you're going to freeze it. But I was really happy with the way that this came out. The flavor was really good, and I could definitely recreate this on my own. So here are the 2 recipes. I was very happy with both of them. I think they worked for our family. I liked having leftovers, and it was just nice to kind of get back into the kitchen and keeping it a little bit simple. I really like using these kind of like one-pan dinners and everything, and I really want to make like a lot of like things to have in the freezer for quick, easy dinners, but most importantly for lunches too. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and hopefully I will be back soon to give you some more dinner ideas.